Alright, guys. Oof. Underlying energy is the tower, y'all. Okay, so there's some unexpected stuff happening this week. Things you did not see coming. And honestly, I really feel like this is the dawn of a new day. It's just that it comes off so aggressive that it may just be it might throw you just a little bit before you can really settle up on the horse and be able to ride it to, to the path of happiness. Now, let's go ahead and start with the past here. With the past, you guys have the Ten of Swords. Yeah, that's talking about an abrupt ending to something. But this is not necessarily a completely bad thing. The best thing about this card, right, is that the worst is over. You've hit rock bottom, but there is there's no farther down you can go at this point, really. So you guys, honestly, potentially here in the past, you had to recover from some sort of ending. For some of you guys, it may have been some betrayal, some backstabbing, some words being said behind your back. But I really feel like it was resolved, it was cleared up, it was done. Honestly, with the Ten of Swords, like I said, this is the worst that it could have ever gotten. This is the worst that it could get, potentially because of the King of Cups in your internal energy. You potentially were deeply in love and madly in love, guys, because the Kings are fixed signs, and Aquarius, you are a fixed sign. So with the King of Cups, I do feel like you guys are very much in love with someone, or you guys are still in love with this individual. There's a lot of, you guys are the definition of love, unconditional love. It doesn't matter who or what. You guys, like, there's a reason why Valentine's Day is in Aquarius season, right? Love is unconditional. It has no specifics to it. It's like, it doesn't have to be romantic, but like, it doesn't have to be romantic. It could be family, it could be friends. But I feel like you genuinely were in love with this person. You were very much in love. I feel like for some of you guys maybe this is past energy, right? This is the King of Cups. You guys could have been very feeling a lot of emotions at this time. Like a wave of emotions. But for this, which is really interesting, I think you were holding back, right? I think you were holding back on some emotions, holding back on some things that you were feeling. Maybe you didn't feel comfortable expressing how you felt because you felt so betrayed. Or maybe you were worried about betrayal, so you weren't communicating. But at the end of the day, right, you had a lot of emotions going on. You felt a certain way. And I feel like it's love. I feel like it was possibly despair. But I also feel like whatever that ended here potentially was that, began the cycle of healing. Because after the Ten of Swords, you have, you can either stay there or you can stand up on your feet. And I feel like at this point you were ready to heal it, right? At the moment it's, this went down. But ultimately too, I feel like you guys were very much in love. You guys, I don't know if you guys had a breakup with an individual, but I feel like something here, it's like, it's gotten your heart, right? It's really made your heart throb. I don't know if it's pain. It could be both, right? Pain and love, but because we're moving here too. So yeah, there's a lot of emotions that you were feeling, but you weren't communicating. You weren't saying anything. And that's totally unlike you, usually, right? When it comes to things that's bugging you, you're a star of communication to someone. Unless it's really getting to you, unless it's something that's hit your core, then I guess, right, Aquarius, correct me if I'm wrong, right? You won't open up about it. You won't talk about it because it's your business, right? You don't want anybody else in there. But at the same time, you don't think anybody would really understand it. Because there's a lot of swords here, and there's a lot to understand. And I don't think people can actually grasp that. I think that's potentially why you hold everything in. That's why you don't say what you want to say about how you feel. You know it's in your cup, but that cup is complicated, right? Or it's not complicated, but people complicate it. That's how society sees it. So internally, this is your heart, but how it's seen, it's like, that's a lot going on, and you just feel like nobody really tries to get it or really gets it at all. Maybe they do try, I don't know. But there's something that went down that requires a lot of understanding with all these swords, right? That's some thoughts, that's perspective, that's communication. That's a lot, right? But at the same time, people just may not understand that there's something more to that's going on, and it's affecting you internally. Externally, though, you felt exhausted, tired, beaten down. And honestly, you guys really, you guys were really just worn out, really. But it's the determination of everything. You were determined to finish the cycle. You were determined to get through the end. At the end of the day, you weren't ready to give up. And I feel like that is what's gotten you through, right? This feeling of completion, right? You've gone so far that throwing in the towel would have just thrown away all of your work, all of your, everything that mattered to you. But at the same time, I do feel like there was a period of time where you may have wanted to give up. You may have wanted to just toss it, just let it, pass it off. But it's your passion for what it is, for yourself, for love, for striving for new things, experiencing new things. There was some passion here that was keeping you grounded, and that determination to complete the cycle, to stay strong and to stay firm and stand firm in your where you were, especially if this is a relationship that didn't break up. It was just a very seriously difficult time, or a time where there were some things that were found out, exposed. You've stood strong. Okay. But it was difficult. It was a difficult thing to do, but you got to commend yourself for this, right? You come a long way. Now, considering that there is this really, some past here that's not the easiest to look at sometimes. You have the present here being the Three of Swords. Is now that time to really look at what's actually hurt, what's still wounded from this situation, what's still broken. And I feel like this is the absolute time. This is the greatest opportunity now to recover from what was going on, to really recover from this situation, because you had to recover, right? You had to kind of get up on your feet, patch up, the big holes, the big major artery stuff. Like, you can't get out of here. You can't get out of this situation without really patching yourself up and doing the work anyway. But the patchwork still continues, but this is not patchwork anymore. It's just more of like really going into detail and picking out the shards of glass that were broken, right? You're really going in depth. You're looking at what's going on. Okay. And this is because looking internally, you have emotional cycle ending here and your internal energy. Okay. So there was something emotionally that's going on, that's closing up. And I feel like maybe you feel in a better place than you were here. Obviously, this is way better. This is way better than this. But there's still something that's going on internally for you that's keeping you from being able to, to really heal completely. And I think that's what you want, Aquarius. You want to be able to heal. You want to be able to walk around and be like, hey, I'm all right now. I'm actually okay. Because something happened here in the past that was just earth-shattering. Okay, it was legitimately earth-shattering, but now it's all about pulling the swords out. And that can be exhausting, right? Because you just did this. You just did all that. And you still got more to, you still got more to heal. And that's going to be super exhausting anyway. But I feel like there's still your heart left to even work with, right? I feel like once the pain and once the blockages are out of your heart, right, there is potential for new happiness. You can be able to communicate with a lot more Aquarian swagger, okay? Because you guys have that, right? You guys have Aquarian swagger. But this here, yeah, it's still a little bit more of healing needed to do. But I feel like you're in a better place, for one. You're in a better place to do it. You are surrounded by people that care about you. You're surrounded by people that have your back. And I feel like, this can be the time where, the healing can be, can really go and be thoroughly cleansed, if that makes sense. Like the swords, they can be fully pulled out and looked at it. But it's going to require you to be absolutely blunt with yourself, blunt with people, right? You may, there's some people that may come into your life that just are, they may be trifling. But I feel like you have this perspective now to be able to even communicate what it is that you're feeling. Perhaps in the past you didn't have anybody to communicate with. You didn't have anybody to talk to about it. Well, Aquarius, I feel like now with the Page of Swords in your external energy, you can potentially communicate it now, or you can talk about what's going on. You can talk about those things because you know exactly what happened. You know exactly what triggers, what really hit the most, what really hit the hardest. Because something bad may have happened here. Like I said, you got to do some really big patch-up work, right? Whatever may have been, this is the whatever may have been like messed up in the past or whatever that needed to be fixed, whatever, right? It needed to be fixed here. But there was some other internal stuff that hit the hardest, the part that with the King of Cups. So it's like removing the swords and getting those out, so you be able to, or at least recognizing what the problem is, so that way you can communicate it. But you're in a much better place now. Okay, it looks like it here. Or this is talking about a situation that's ending, an emotional cycle that's ending, an emotionally traumatic cycle, right? Like it could be like really difficult. It obviously was, but I feel like emotionally now, to tie things up, there is this pain that you have to go through. There's this pain that you have to possibly revisit just to remove the swords. Which is why communicating potentially it can be very beneficial. Hopefully somebody comes in even with, being very straight up with you, being very honest and not really playing games. Because the Page of Swords is somebody that's not playing games. And I feel like this could be somebody that comes in, offers you something, that communicates with you, says something very direct with you, and that makes you feel good because you know that there's nothing to mess with. I mean, there's nothing to second guess or, to question. Someone's being genuine and very straight up and very direct, and that can be very good, especially when there's been a past of some, betrayal, someone not being clear, or someone not, eventually this was clarity, right? But somebody was not, somebody was stabbing, talking behind your back, or not really coming to you. Well, they're coming to you now with the truth, and I feel like you have a truth to say as well. Okay. Let me go ahead and pull for the Ten of Cups. Why is the Ten of Cups in their internal energy? The Two of Swords. So it's about figuring out what it is that you want from the happiness. This is about your happiness internally. You have to look at these old issues so that way you can feel like there's so you can feel the happily ever after. So you can feel that there's potential to gain more, to open up to more love that's elsewhere, right? Because I feel like, being stuck in one situation for so long, you kind of get tired of having to deal with old issues all the time. So, yeah, it makes sense, right? Old issues in regards to feeling good, feeling happy. But I feel like you do internally feel good, but it's like, what do you want more? Like, is there something else that you may want? Two of Swords, right? Is there something that you may not be looking at? But then you have the Page of Swords here that's like, there's a truth that's being spoken. Like, there's a truth that's going to come out. Or there's a truth, from you or a message from someone else. That's very blunt. I don't think that's bad, though, the Page of Swords. Let me pull one more for that one. Let me pull for the Page of Swords, please. Give me one more card for the Page of Swords to help me understand. Page of Swords, I was right. Wow. Usually when the Page of Swords comes up twice, it means that the definition I gave that to for the Page of Swords was correct. Somebody could be coming in with a truth, and you may have a truth to give them as well. This is wrapping up some old cycles. There could be somebody that's triggering you at this time, and they're making you look at these old issues, and you're like, I'm in a good place, right? I mean, nobody makes us do anything, but these triggers, they kind of happen like that. You're like, damn, all right, I just got through that. Can I not? I don't want to look at that right now. But there's a reason why you gotta look at it. It's because you're not seeing something clearly. There's something that you may not be seeing with absolute clarity, right? So in a way, it sucks, but it can help. It can help. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for our highest good. And I feel like three of Swords is never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing because you're looking at those things that are holding you back from being able to be the absolute, the biggest and the baddest you that you can be. So wouldn't you want to look at these swords and say, you know what? I am done with you. I'm taking you guys out. I'm not dealing with this anymore. So I can really be happy instead of not being able to truly, embrace the happiness, because there's something, it's difficult to even bother looking at it. Okay, but there's somebody coming in with an offer, not an offer, but with some sort of truth. Somebody's going to communicate. That's what I'm getting. And you're going to have something to say with them too. And this could also be spies, but I'm not getting any sort of like sneaky energy. But yeah, there's something going on here. Somebody coming back from the past, or somebody that's communicating with you right now that's a blast from the past, or blast from some sort of situation. I feel like it's blast from the past because it's 3 swords. And you were content, you were good, but now you have, but it's because there's something that you were not seeing potentially. Maybe there was still some pain here that needed to be dealt with. Now, in the future, you have the moon. Now, this is where it kind of gets a little interesting, right? Because, there's another sneaky energy, right? But I want to see the 7 of Swords when I think about spying. You know what I'm saying? But I guess with the Page of Swords, right? It doesn't have to be underhanded spying. It's not underhanded. You guys, there could be somebody spying on you, or you could be spying on someone else, looking at their social media, whatever have you. They're gaining information from them, from the shadows, or someone's gaining information about you from the shadows. Right? There's something going on, but I feel like there's a message that's coming in still. There's somebody that's going to communicate with you. That's there, right? That's going to happen. But I mean, that's what I feel like it's going to happen anyway. And it may not, right? Depending on some individuals out there, this may not happen. Maybe you speak your truth to someone instead. But the future, the moon is coming up, right? It's tapping into those fears, those things. Lilith and Pluto and Saturn, they're in your 12th house right now. So the future being all about fear, it's conquering your fears, a place of fear. Like, it can be a little bit daunting. But the thing here is that you always have your intuition. You're going through this process now, removing the swords out of your heart. Your heart is your feelings, your emotions, they are the way that spirit can communicate with you. So with this process happening, I feel like there would be a test to really see how much you've overcome, how much you've really gotten through, how much of love that you've been giving back to yourself, how much love you've been able to maintain within yourself. Because the moon may be coming up to maybe to test you on conquering your fears and overcoming situations that are a bit confusing, and really seeing how you can rely on your intuition. Because here, I'm not getting a lot of bad stuff, right? I feel like, honestly, you just don't see the moon. This period of time can get a bit confusing. But also, there's a seriously intense energy here, too. There's intensity. Why is there intensity? Internally, you got the 3 of Wands. So there is something that you're waiting on. There's something that you were potentially expecting. Like, you've been putting in the work. But at the same time, the moon's coming up. So what are you expecting, Aquarius? Do you know? What work have you been putting in that you know you're going to get something back for? And what exactly are you getting it back? Because externally, you have the sun. It's very interesting. Externally, things are clear, but the situation is confusing. I'm going to pull on that right now, actually. Why is the moon coming up with the sun? I'm just going to put that in between those two. The High Priestess. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. Yeah, there's definitely some spy work going on. Whoa. The High Priestess. Because you have clarity in your intuition. You're using your intuition as your guide. As your beaming, your light, as your flashlight, pretty much. What else can you tell us about this? Too many doggone cards, y'all. Okay, what else can you tell us about the moon? Why is the moon and the sun coming up? What can you tell us? The Fool, something new starting as well. Okay. Yeah. Taking a leap of faith. And the moon is going to require you to take a leap of faith, right? It's never going to be like, oh, well, you know where you're going. The moon is on purpose to be confusing and hard to see. The moon can only illuminate so much, right? The moon, amplify the imagery that you're seeing, or the stuff that you're seeing. And look at those tides, right? The tides in the background of the moon. They're going crazy, right? And usually that's when the most waves happen. That's why surfers, when they go out, right, they wait for a full moon to happen so they will actually get real waves. And that could be the height of your emotion, right? Maybe the full moon, I don't know. There should be a full moon coming up very soon, but maybe the Gemini moon, that's over, right? That's past. But I feel like there's some sort of emotional heightening here. Some emotional heightening. It's like an increase in your intuition, like a height. Like I can't even explain it. It's like a boost or an upgrade. That's what it looks like. With that tide there in the background, like that brought something out to me. It's like, okay, it's intensifying. Your intuition is intensifying, and that's something new altogether. And it may be, and it may be kind of confusing, and you may be super sensitive to things, right? But you also have this immense clarity, emotion, intuitively. But as far as your relationships go, you may be way more in tune. You may have a lot more knowledge, or maybe things become more revealed, or some secrets or some sort of situations reveal itself very soon. Because the Fool, he's pretty much he's a blank slate. He's got some baggage, but I feel like that may be exposed. You're expecting the truth to come. That's what I feel like is coming up. You're expecting the light to become, well, the darkness to become light. You're expecting the darkness to become light. Alright. There's a lot of stuff going on. New love. Wow. Oh, I love it. A new person has stirred your romantic feelings. That's potentially why you have this trigger going on in the present, right? This individual this situation is triggering the mess out of you. I feel like, yeah, it's because somebody came in with some sort of message and you're communicating with them. But they're triggering you something terrible. But I feel like it's to open a door. It's to open a door. Oh, emotionally. Maybe a door that you haven't opened in quite some time. Well, maybe a little too long.